All right, what's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Joannis or Joe Hatagwa. I'm a Sierra Leonean American living here in Accra, Ghana. And if you want to know what life has been like for me in Ghana over the last 11 months, then this is the video for you. All right, guys, we're live. We are live. There were some technical difficulties. It's been one of those days, but we're live on YouTube, we're live on Facebook, and we're now live on Instagram. It has been one of those days. I got plenty to catch you all up on. But let me know, first of all, if you guys can hear me. I want to make sure that you guys can hear me. Let me know if you can hear me. There's a lot to catch up on, and so I'm ready to catch you all up. So, all right, we got some people joining on Instagram Live. We got a couple people on Facebook and YouTube. Real quick, shout out to Miss P. Hello. What's up, Jose? What's going on? You can hear me loud and clear. Cool. Mr. Bounce Los Angeles is joining. Shout out to you. Thanks for joining. And shout out to everybody who's been telling other people about this channel. I spoke to my aunt. Well, I got a voice note from my aunt this weekend, Auntie Marion in the UK. So I know she's been watching and listening in. So I appreciate you too. Yeah, she watches on her TV actually, which is pretty cool. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a couple minutes or so to let everybody get in before we start on the topic of today. Today is actually gonna be just like an update of how I feel 11 months in, give you an overall update of where I am, how things have been, just in all areas of my life, my career, what's been going on with the house, what's been going on in my personal life, all of that stuff. So I'm looking forward to giving you guys this update. I think what I'll do is once a month, I'll update you guys on what life has been like for me up until that point. There's always some new life changes and some interesting things to tell you. And so I look forward to updating you all. All right, cool. So Ms. P says she can't hear me. You don't hear anything. Let me know if anybody else can't hear me. I see Bertrand's on. Shout out to Bertrand. Can you guys hear me? Let me know if you guys can hear me. And on Instagram, let me know if you guys can hear me too. There's a bunch of people. Outside the weather, what's been the most unexpected thing so far? Mr. Bounce Los Angeles is asking. The most unexpected thing so far, I would say, before I get into everything else, is water in my apartment and not having it consistently. For sure. Like as of right now, this very moment, the water has not been flowing, and with no prior warning, nothing. It's just not working. So, that happens every once in a while here in the building that I live in. It doesn't happen to everybody I know, but this particular building that I live in, it does happen from time to time. And so that would, that would be an issue. Mr. Bounce Los Angeles says he got me on all three devices so he can hear me clearly. Shout out to you with the 3 devices. I'm also on 2 devices right now. I'm on my laptop here doing YouTube and Facebook, and I'm on my phone doing Instagram Live. Okay, so again, today is going to be 11th month update. What's it been like? What's been going on in a couple of different areas of my life, career, the house that I've been working on, a little bit about, personal life and things like that. So we got some questions. So Bertrand says, you can hear me. I feel like YouTube might have randomly muted some. Did that to him just now, but you just need to unmute again. All right, so if you're on YouTube, thanks Bertrand for the tech support. Shout out to you. So if you guys are on YouTube and you guys, for some reason, if things just automatically just muted, just unmute it and you should be able to hear me. So check your sound underneath the video. Just, do the little thing to unmute it so that you can hear me. And apologies if you keep hearing my phone go off. I'm getting messages while we're on the live. Let's see. Okay, so I finally got my internet back on. Oh man, the internet was off today. It runs out quickly, especially when you have more than one person in the house, and if you're streaming TV shows, it can go out fast. And so you don't have unlimited internet here, and once it goes out, it can happen without warning. Specifically for me, that's what happened. So, but I got my internet back, so that's good. I just got a text message from my tech support guy. L5 asks, are you planning to move to Sierra Leone permanently or just be traveling between both countries? Ideally, eventually, I'll be moving to Sierra Leone permanently. That will be my permanent place of residence, but I'll always have places in other countries. I'm really liking Ghana right now, so I imagine I will be having a property here or two in the future, and I'd be traveling here as well. And of course, the U.S. I'm a co-owner of a couple properties in the U.S. and plan to, or a co-owner of a property, I should say, in the U.S. and I plan to buy more. And so I definitely will be going back and forth. But in terms of where I plan to, make my permanent residence, yeah, I think Sierra Leone is eventually going to be the place. So there's a question from Mr. Bounce Los Angeles. What precisely happened with the water? Why is it not flowing? That's a great question. I don't know the answer. Sometimes it's the water pump. Sometimes it's the actual water tank hasn't been filled. What I've learned here is that not everybody is proactive, even after learning that things happen frequently. So, for instance, you would think that if water has been an issue with water flowing or the water tank running out, they would proactively make sure that they check the water tank to make sure that there's always water. That's not the case in this building. And it's also the water pump sometimes has issues. So you would think maybe they'd buy a secondary pump or something like that to back it up. Or when the electricity goes out and the generator has to run, one time that happened for about 24 hours, and then the generator itself just broke down. You would think there'd be some contingencies in place to kind of help with that. That is not the case. So yeah, I mean, it just happens from time to time. It just works out that way. Okay, so make sure you guys tell me if you can hear me. It looks like I'm losing people on YouTube. Let me know what's going on, because all of you who are normally here, I see that the numbers are just dropping. So let me know if you guys can hear me, or if you're having issues with connecting on YouTube, or if I'm disconnecting. Just let me know in the comments so I know before I get into this. All right, YMCMB55 just joined. Shout out to you. Thanks for joining. Always here. Borgs, I guess is the name. Shout out to you for joining. Thanks for joining on Instagram Live. All right, cool. So let's get into this week's content. All right, so this week we're going to talk about where I am and what's going on. But before I do, actually, that's what I meant to do. I want to quickly just do some housekeeping so you guys know what's coming, know what to look out for, and to make sure that you are on the lookout for it. And check it out, comment, subscribe, like the videos as they come out. I'll update you guys on the whole YouTube thing. So YouTube, once you hit the Cali Cow, shout out to you. Thanks for joining. YMCMB 1955 said, what happened to my typical background? That was just my phone in a weird position, but that's the typical background that you're always asking about. So just a real quick note. Once you hit the YouTube Partner Program, where YouTube is deciding to share in the commissions they make from advertisers, they have to verify who you are by sending you something to your home address. I gave them my address here in Ghana, but the issue was with this address, like many other addresses, is it's difficult to find. So the letter, I guess, got delivered. I don't know. It was supposed to be delivered back in July. I got a notification that said, if you do not update your address by this date, which was like 2 days after the date that I saw the notification, we will stop monetizing your account. So as of right now, YouTube is no longer monetizing my account, or at least they're not sharing in the revenue. So if you see any ads on my channel, YouTube is not sharing in that revenue with me. So that's actually an interesting update. The address thing, that's that can be a bit challenging. So what I'm going to have to do is give a different address, likely my home address, I mean my office address, because that address is, there's somebody always there at the front desk to get the items. They notify you when something is received there, and so it looks like that is what I'm going to have to do, is go with the office address. But it takes at least 3 weeks, not to mention on the fact that it's going to be international, so maybe even longer. So I'll go that long without my channel being monetized. It is what it is, but I wanted to give you guys that update. So like if you're trying to do super chats or anything like that, none of that is available on the channel because my address was not found by the good folks at Google, and so I never got the pin that I needed to put into my account to verify that I'm a real person, and where I live is where I say I live. So that's that update. All right, really quickly, let's do the quick housekeeping, and then we'll get into the content for today. So cool. So as I've been telling you guys the last couple of weeks, my upload dates are back to Mondays for the live. We're going to be live every Monday. Wednesdays, I do a weekly update, and Saturdays, I do a vlog based on visiting. Like the last 2 weeks, I did 2 hotels in Sierra Leone. I also, before that, I did the Chimpanzee Sanctuary, and I'm going to start doing more interviews now. So I got a bunch of interviews that I've done with people from the diaspora living here in Ghana, also with local Ghanaian entrepreneurs. There's a guy that I met who does virtual reality here in Ghana, born and raised, self-taught himself. He's self-taught computer programming, and he has a virtual reality company, really cool stuff. And I'm interviewing him, and I'm going to be sharing that with you guys. So those are some of the things that I'll be doing and sharing with you all in the coming weeks. So again, this is what the schedule looks like. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Mondays, 9 p.m. GMT. Wednesdays, 5 p.m. GMT, and Saturday, 5 p.m. GMT. I will say that next Monday, it might be a little earlier. I'm supposed to be in Egypt as of Saturday, going there for a workshop. That's a whole nother thing. I'll get to that later. And so when I'm there, if I'm not mistaken, I think Egypt is like 6 hours ahead of you. Oh no, yeah, 5 to 6 hours ahead of GMT. So all of the calls, well, the next week's live will be probably 4 or 5 hours earlier. So I'll keep you guys posted on the date and time. Once I get there, I'll have a better idea of what time makes sense and everything for next Monday. But I do want to stick to the live because you guys join faithfully every Monday, and I want to make sure that I'm back to provide you with content and relevant information for you if you're considering moving or even visiting Ghana or West Africa. So in order to stay up to date, make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe, turn on post notifications. Make sure you turn on all post notifications so you know when any new content is being posted, so you're always notified. The website, AuthenticAfrican.com, as I always say, a portion of the proceeds does go to feeding underprivileged kids here in Ghana and in Sierra Leone as well. Every year on New Year's Day, I do a something and as act of service. So in 2020, the act of service was going to an orphanage and donating to an orphanage. And then this year, the act of service in January 1st of this year, was feeding the children, the street children of Osu. And so I am planning to do that again, both in Sierra Leone, going back to the orphanage and doing more there, and then here in Ghana as well. So a portion of the proceeds from Authentic African does go towards a good cause. But also, if you have products that you want to buy from Africans, made in Africa, being sold in the United States, here is a list of items that you can buy in these different groups. Just go to authenticafrican.com, pick what you want, make a purchase, and that's that. All right, cool. All right, so the 11-month update, like, I can't, first of all, I can't believe it's been 11 months. I don't know, to those of you who've been following me since what is this, February, when I first started this channel, and I first started going live in May. I think I did my first live from a hotel I was staying in Sierra Leone. And then, I've been live, I think, the last 14 weeks straight. It's kind of crazy to think that every Monday evening was dedicated to going live. But I appreciate you all for joining faithfully. Many of you here been here at least 6 or 7 weeks. Some have been here since the beginning. So it's been 11 months since I've been in Ghana. And so I want to do kind of updates across the board. So let's start with career. So some of you might know, and many of you, I guess I should say, should know that I moved here to Ghana to focus on advising and then eventually investing in companies on the continent. So I mentioned this before, but I started a business, got my dual citizenship, opened a bank account, all in Sierra, and bought property in Sierra Leone at the end of 2018 into early 2019. And that led to, by the end of 2019, coming back, going to Ghana for the year of return, and then of course 2020 deciding to move here. So that kind of all happened in succession from the end of 2018 into at the end of 2020. And so the goal has always been to invest and advise startups here on the continent. My background is in advertising and it's not in investing. And so it does make it a little bit difficult to move directly into an investment role right away. So the next best thing I could do was work for a company here on the continent that has brand recognition, but also hires local people so that I would have the opportunity to see what it's like to work at a company on the continent from the inside. Right. If I'm going to be investing in companies, I can't just bring my Western mindset. This is something that I think we've all learned in different ways as people who've moved here from the diaspora, is that when you come here to Ghana, you definitely want to learn the culture and to make sure to not offend, and also to be ingratiate yourself with the culture here. And I think one of the things that I have learned is what it's like to work in Ghana. And there's no way I could have learned that without taking this job and working at Jumia full time. So it actually worked out. Although it's in advertising, it's not investing, it's actually been a really, really eye-opening experience. I've learned a lot about how people work, how talented and how smart Ghanaians are, and but also how some of the cultural things find their way into all areas of your work life. So, for instance, Ghanaians are generally a very polite culture. If you notice, if you come here, you notice they say please before a lot of things. So, like somebody might say, "Please, what's your name?" Or if somebody so please, what's your name? Or please, what time it is? What time is it? Please comes before everything, and it's part of its tree is like that too. Is I can't remember the word, mapaucho, and tree means please, and so people say that first. If I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, but people say that first, and then they say it when it translates to English. And so what that means is it finds its ways in other areas of business. So what I mean by that is they do not like to offend. So, for instance, in sales, my role is in sales, and I'm pitching a client. If our prices are too expensive, I may not be told that my prices are too expensive. I'll just be told, oh, yeah, we'll call you back, and then don't ever get a call back. Or I call them back and they don't answer the phone, right? Or they don't email me back, And so those are some of the things that I've noticed as working in my career here. And how that politeness and not wanting to offend can find its way into my daily business life, which is interesting. So it did take me a while to understand that, to understand how to negotiate, just how to communicate. I'm so used to being like, hey, blah, 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 blah. some niceties. But now, like in my email, I'll say, hey, name, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I noticed that that is how other people start every email. I used to just say, hey, name. Sometimes if it was a Monday, I'd say, hope you had a good weekend. If it was a Friday, I'd end it with, have a good weekend. But I wouldn't do like the good morning, I hope you are well. There's like these other elements to communication, which are really important because that's just a part of how people communicate here. And it seems like so small and so trivial, but it honestly does make a difference. You can be seen as rude if you don't follow some of the normal ways of how people communicate here. And so that was something that I've had to discover and to learn. But to that, on that note, I was struggling a lot in my day-to-day job. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. It was difficult. I'm selling in a brand new market. I don't know very many people here. And, what I've learned is that, I'm working in digital advertising and I'm selling to advertisers who are used to just doing like billboards, maybe television, maybe radio, but not actually advertising on the internet. Maybe they do like a post or two on Instagram or Facebook as a business, but not really advertising. And we're talking about big multinational brands, even still in Ghana, don't do, digital advertising. And the proxy that they would have on the ground here in Ghana would be someone who's might have worked for a local company and now is like managing the business for, like, let's say Red Bull here in Ghana. And so, when I first started, we had less than $5,000 in advertising coming in consistently. And we hadn't had someone in my role for more than 6 months before I came to this. And I can tell you it took a long time to get up to speed. But I'm happy to say in the month of November, we are going to do about 10 times, a little more than 10 times the revenue in November than we did in the month of March when I started. Now, when you're starting off with a number that's small, the total number may not seem that big, but 10 times revenue, you have no idea how difficult that is to make happen. It took this many months to get there. So some of the clients that we are closing for advertising spend is Samsung. You guys are all familiar with Samsung. There's a Samsung device, right? Samsung TVs, phones, all of that. Samsung. Red Bull. That was a tough one. Red Bull has consistently been spending advertising revenue over the last couple of months. So that's been great. We're getting Red Bull back again in November. Wall, if you guys are familiar with those clippers, I use Wall to do like my lineups and to shave my mustache down or whatever. Wall is like, hair clippers, hair trimmers. Men's grooming is the category they're in. So Wall is another one that's coming on board. Bell Aqua, this company. I don't know if you guys remember in the first couple of lives that I did, I was always sipping my water. I'm like, yo, these guys better pay me. As much as I promote them on my channel, these guys better pay me. And in one way or another, they are. So Bell Aqua's coming on board as an advertiser this next month. L'Oreal. You guys are familiar with L'Oreal. They're part of Maybelline. I'm not going to do the jingle, but you guys know Maybelline. If you hear the name, maybe it's Maybelline. You know what I'm talking about. Any airport you go to, you guys know Maybelline. And then Unilever. So Unilever does Axe body spray. They do, why is that the only thing I can think of? They do Geisha soap here locally. They do Close Up soap. If you guys have Close Up toothpaste, if you guys have ever heard of Close Up, they do Pepsodent. So they have a bunch of different brands and Unilever. So these are all the brands that we've finally gotten to go live next month and actually pay us advertising revenue. It has been a long struggle to get to 5 times the amount of revenue that they were doing when I first came. But I'm finally starting to hit my stride and see some momentum start to go. So that's the career. It's finally starting to pick up and things are going well. And we're finally really starting to crack some of these bigger brands and bring them on board. So even though advertising was not what I came here to do, I still made the most of it, and I'm doing my best to offer value to this organization and really bring in revenue. Because like I said, what I want to do is help employ people on the continent, and my job is directly responsible for bringing in revenue to the organization. And so part of that is to make sure that it ensures that people are and continue to remain employed. And so in some small way, technically, I'm helping to maintain some employment at the organization. Although whether there's advertising or not, they still would be some people. It's helping to offset some of the cost. So so that's what we've been doing to date. That's what's coming up this month. We for those of you in Ghana and who care, we are doing Black Friday all month long. You know, coming from the US, I was an Amazon user. I've also used Alibaba. They tend to do Black Friday at the end of the month, the last Friday of the month. And you guys would know this from the US, the different retailers, they do Black Friday and then Cyber Monday. Jumia does Black Friday all month long. So every Friday this month has a Black Friday sale. Not to be just pitching Black Friday, but since this Friday it's coming up and it's something that's happening, just putting it out there. So if you're here and you're looking to buy stuff online in Ghana or in 11 other countries across the continent, because it's not just in Ghana, we're in Morocco, Algeria, Kenya, Egypt, Nigeria, Senegal, Ivory Coast, South Africa, Tunisia. If I didn't name them all, that was most of them. So so Black Friday is all month long. So anyway, these are some of the advertisements I got for just Ghana, which was really, really difficult. I mentioned those, and we did 10 times sales from the time that I started. Next week, I'm going to be in Egypt for our first advertising team workshop. So each country at Jumia has its own like company infrastructure, right? So Ghana has like its own local entity where they have a CEO, CMO, CCO, COO, right? All the C-level executives. And I'm the head of advertising specifically for Ghana. There's a head of advertising for Nigeria and all the other countries that I mentioned. So we're all going to Egypt to do like what would normally be like a sales conference in any other organization, to talk about what's worked, what hasn't worked, what we're looking to do moving forward. You know, talk about our pricing. Is it too much? Can we make some wiggle room on pricing? Things like that, all that kind of stuff. We're meeting to talk about. I mean, it's going to be the first time we're all meeting in person. Most of us started in the midst of the global pandemic, and so there wasn't as much travel as you usually do in an organization like this. So I haven't met any of the other heads of advertising from any of the other countries, and I actually haven't met the GM of advertising, the person who oversees all advertising, or the managing director of advertising. I can't remember what his title is, but I haven't met him at all in person. So all of our communications has been through Zoom and or through Google Chats. And so this will be interesting to kind of meet everybody all in person. So that's next week, which means my Monday Live may be earlier because I will be in Egypt. But there's going to be a ton of content coming out of Egypt because I've never been. I made sure that I given myself 3 extra days to be able to get as much out of my Egypt trip as possible. So next Sunday, I got some time and I'm going to go to some places. The following, and that Friday and Saturday, I also have some time to go places. So you guys will definitely get a chance to see that content. I'm super excited to show that to you guys. Egypt was on the bucket list forever, and it just so happens that I got a chance for my company to pay for me to go. So I'm excited about that. So that's the work update. Any questions about work? Any thoughts, questions anybody have for me about what my work has been like? People tend to have a lot of questions about it. I don't see anybody asking any questions now. Okay. Ms. Petty, shout out to you. Thanks for joining. Any questions about the job? Tristan Hostin says, finally caught one of your lives. Shout out to you. Thanks for joining the live. Regged Wu said, for some reason, my reply on YouTube wouldn't post some weeks ago. Purple Cafe Vegan Spot in Osu is different from Purple Pub. I hope you try it. Good spot. Yes. Okay. Purple Cafe. I will have to try it. Yes, I'm vegan. So I'm always looking for vegan recommendations. I like it. Thanks for sharing that. Okay. EO says, I have a question. Shoot. Go ahead. Ask your question. I'd love to see it. Happy to answer it. Any other questions while we scroll along? Mr. Bounce Los Angeles says all brothers are familiar with Wall. Mr. Bounce says I love direct sales. The Jones is pretty straightforward. Yeah, I mean, while we wait for some of these other questions, yeah, Mr. Bounce Los Angeles. Yeah, the job is pretty straightforward. I mean, it's the head of advertising, so it's really just advertising to people who sell products on Jumia. Sorry, it's selling to advertisers who sell products on Jumia, but it's also like selling to telecom companies too. So there's a company called MTN here. There's another one, Vodafone. And so both of those I've been pitching. I've even pitched banks. We have some products that we make available for them to help advertise in front of our customer base. So yeah, but I would tell you that budgets are much smaller here. So for example, I don't know, we're a publicly traded company, so I don't know exactly what I'm allowed to say and what I'm not allowed to say, but I'll say this. Unilever, the brand that I mentioned earlier, spent for one day in Nigeria more than one of their competitors spent for 5 months in Ghana. Okay? So in Ghana, that's the challenge, right? Is that advertisers aren't so willing to spend money here. So the 5 times revenue that we've produced in November versus what I got when I first started here actually should be like 10 times revenue. The problem is I had to offer everything at a discount because all of the advertisers who I was able to get to come on board do not want to pay the price that we initially offered for all of the executions that we're doing. So that means I have to do a lot more work with a lot more advertisers for less revenue. But as long as we wow them and give them what they want, they'll always come back for more. And we just want to make sure we're offering value to them. They offer value to our users, and it's a symbiotic relationship. Excuse me. I'll say, and with that, okay, EO says, are you earning a livable wage working in Ghana compared to working in the United States? So it's a great question. I do consulting gigs. I have other sources of income, and that's one thing you'll discover for most expats here, depending on what kind of business they're working for. I mean, a lot of people work for multinational firms that might pay them a little bit better. But if you know anybody who's working for a company that's locally here, and it's not an international firm, and see, for me, Jumia is a local entity, right? So the company I work for is Jade E Services, which is a local entity as part of the Jumia umbrella here in Ghana. And that means I get paid a Ghana wage. And so, is it a livable wage? Yes, it's a livable wage here in Ghana. If I lived on this wage, just that wage, and I didn't have any other income coming in, and I lived on just that wage in the United States, it would be very difficult. I would say that it's been about 16 years since I was paid what I am paid now at Jumia, solely for Jumia. Like I said, I have other income streams. So luckily I do. If I didn't, it'd be difficult for me to live anywhere else. I can live in Ghana on it because in Ghana you can definitely make it work. Obviously if you want to go nuts and, go out every night and all that kind of stuff, you're gonna run out of money. But I could live on this wage here if I only had this income. But I don't only have this income for that reason, because I'm also building a house in Sierra Leone. I'm working on it. My mother's also helping build the house. She's putting some into it as well, and so we're working to build something which requires cash. So there's no way that I could do that just on one income here. So that's one thing that I would recommend to those people who are planning to move here is if you want to work for a local company here, make sure you have another stream of income. Or you can work for a multinational firm if that's something that you're interested in doing. But keep in mind that what happens a lot of times is, especially European owned companies, they just know that they can pay people less here, and so they do, because most people are just happy to get a job, right? So that's something that I would definitely make you aware of, because there are a lot of people that are getting paid less than what they think is a livable wage. Yeah, so that's my answer there. It's a great answer. Thank you. Okay, so that's career. Any other questions? Anything else? I'm gonna move forward. If there are any other questions or comments on the career stuff, okay, here we go. So really, food for thought says beautiful work. I'm doing the same thing, but building a farmhouse in MD. Is that Maryland, or somewhere else? Let me know where MD is. I do, or do you mean on the continent, like the mall? Yeah, I don't know where MD is. Um, Tristan Hostin says that's so wrong. Yes, that is. Unfortunately, that's just how it is. Um, I also worked for a company that was based in Germany at one point in time. Bertrand is on here, and once the accounting team accidentally sent me a file with everyone's salary information. Wow. That was crazy. So I got a chance to see, and each tab was so neatly put together, and I could see what they were paying in Hamburg, Germany. I could see what they were paying in Singapore. I could see what they were paying in New York and in San Francisco. I saw everybody's salary. So it's not specific to Africa. It is more specific to countries that aren't Europe and the United States. Yeah, so Bertrand, you didn't know this, but I did see it, including yours as well. I did see your salary, but so this is Bertrand. Bertrand worked with me there at that company, and what I saw was the people in Singapore were getting paid half what the people in New York and in Los Angeles were getting paid. Now, granted, there's some other things to take into consideration. Cost of living is lower. Their office wasn't generating as much revenue. I get it. All those things are true. Okay. But I mean, they were asking for more money and they were being told that they couldn't get more, right? When I knew that we would hire someone, like for instance, someone on my sales team was getting paid $110,000 as their base salary, plus a $60,000 to $70,000 bonus, right, on top of what their base salary was. That was somebody I was hiring, right? And you can imagine then someone in Singapore, they were paying them $30,000, right? Or 20, yeah, 30,000, I think was like for like the director level people. So it was like 20 to like 40. I saw like the span. And I have to go back and look at it again. But I remember thinking like there's a huge disparity here. And if somebody else besides me was to get this, there'd be an uproar. But luckily it was me. And I had to, because it was confidential. I couldn't obviously say or tell anyone. All I could do was mention to the powers that be that certain people need to be paid more. And it's because of the amount of work that they do and how valuable they were to the organization, or we were going to lose them. And we lost them anyway because they didn't pay them more. So a couple more people are on. What do you got? What are we saying? Okay, Nia Moose says, most Africans in the USA have an extra income side hustle to build a project in any country in Africa. So true. So true. My aunt and uncle are building many projects in Sierra Leone right now. And they have a business in the US, and they're planning to retire in the next, I guess, 10 years. So it happens a lot for sure. Everybody either is building something back home or sending money back home. My guy Kels Acosta is on. Shout out to you. What's up, Kels? Kels is the reason why I'm even doing a YouTube channel for all of you guys who don't know. So check out Kels Acosta's channel. We did probably like 7 or 8 videos. My first like 7 or 8 videos on my YouTube channel was, shoots that I did with Kels. So shout out to him for joining. Okay, so Tristan Hostin says, I'm planning on moving there in a few months. What's so expensive about Ghana? The food seed's cheap, but why do people say it's expensive? I live in Canada. It can't be more to live there, right? Yeah, that's a good question and a good point. So people always say Ghana is expensive. I think the reason why they say that is because sometimes certain places you go can be the same price as what you can expect to see in the West, like in New York. So there's a restaurant here called Fat Fish, really good food, great brunch. It's like a New York brunch, right? A friend of mine and I went, and he did what we normally do. What we used to do. I'm not a consumer of hard liquor anymore. I just drink red wine, but that day I didn't actually drink at all. And so my meals are much cheaper. But he was doing like the mimosas, right? You know, it's brunch, 2, 3, 4 mimosas. Before you know it, his bill's like $115 or whatever it is, right? That's expensive for Ghana, right? $115, not 150 Ghana cedis, $115. And so there are a couple restaurants that are like that. There's another restaurant that I've been to, really good, like vibes. The food isn't the greatest, but the vibes and the ambiance is great. And now the name of it, of course, is a Sandbox. The name is Sandbox. Really cool spot by the beach. Just a really nice spot. That place is super expensive too. You know, I went there for a dinner with a friend, and that bill ended up being $125. So yeah, for sure, your bills can, you know, your food can cost a bit. And that was just for two people, and I didn't drink, right? And so it ended up being 120. Actually, no, sorry, $150 for that meal, because it was a couple shots of tequila on their behalf, and a couple glasses of wine, and then be in the end, it was like, yeah, too much. So yeah. So what else we got? Um, So these are all good questions about what it's like to live here. So to answer your question, it can be expensive, but it can also be cheap to live here. I mean, I have a housekeeper. Apparently this is on the high end. I was having this discussion with some people that I work with, about $110 per month, and she goes and buys my groceries. She makes three meals or so per week for me. She makes my lunches. She makes some dinners. She makes my juices. Cuts up fruit for me. And she cleans the apartment, and yeah, about $110 or so per month. And that, of course, when I was in the US, would have cost me a lot more, four or five times that amount. I was paying $100 a month, for a cleaner to come to my apartment once a month when I was in LA to clean my apartment. So there's that. So I don't have to worry about that. I don't have to go grocery shopping. I don't have to think about it. She does all of that for me, and my food is just prepared and ready. And so I take my lunch to work every day. So when I was in LA or in New York, because I didn't have a housekeeper or anything, and I don't cook, and I just don't have the patience to do it, I would order lunch every single day. And if you're in New York or in LA, you know that lunch is going to be between $7 and $12 a day, right? And so if you can imagine, that's what I'm ordering every day, 5 days a week. Plus I'm out, at night, going out at night, plus on the weekends. So I was spending a lot of money in the US. Now I know because of the pandemic, people aren't going out as much, but to me, it's cheaper to live here for sure. And I just found ways to make it make sense based on my budget. And to make sure that I just didn't go nuts, right? Like just want to make sure it makes sense for me and how much I spend. So I've been a lot more careful and cautious about my spending since being here. Really Food for Thought says, I have 2 jobs and 2 businesses. I work as a plumber and I'm an artist/farmer. And that's the way it gotta be, especially if you're here on the continent, for sure. What else we got? Really Food for Thought says, how's the agriculture there? Is it easy to grow your own crops? That is a good question. I mean, agriculture is great here because of the weather. In terms of growing your own crops, I've heard of people growing their own, in their own space, like having their own like mini garden. I will show you guys this at some point in time. I inherited some plants from a friend of mine or from friends of mine who live next door, and they're flourishing. And my housekeeper also, she waters those plants. It is not has nothing to do with me. She waters them. She makes sure they're taken care of and they're flourishing inside and outside. I have plants inside and I have plants outside. They are all flourishing, overflowing with flowers and whatnot, blooming, etc., etc. All the words that you use to describe plants that I don't know, but they are flourishing. So yes, it is. But in terms of where you can grow and getting land, that's a whole nother thing, right? So there is land here for Americans that's free. You just pay $700 to get through the city and the country and to own the land. But yeah, so if that was somewhere you wanted to grow, you could potentially do that. But yeah, I mean, it is easy to grow crops here. Um, Tristan says that's proper. I'll be having that service. I guess you mean the housekeeper. Yeah, it makes sense. Finding a good one is going to be tough, but yeah, I got lucky. I inherited mine. Thank you. I'm going to show my homegirl this video because she's doubting our move there in terms of expense. Yeah, I mean, look, people do say Ghana is expensive a lot. I hear that a lot. You know, I don't know. I take Uber to work every day. And comparatively speaking, I took Uber to work every day in LA. And I was spending, I shouldn't have been taking an Uber to work every day, but this is the frivolous kind of spending that I was doing back in 2019. I was spending about um $20. Yeah, that is a lot. It's about $15 to $20 each way. 5 days a week. I know it's crazy. Whatever, it is what it is. That's what I was spending. $15 to $20 a day, each week, 5 days a week. Plus, I was buying lunch every day. So, I don't do math in public, but what is that? Let's just say it's $20 a day. 20 times 5 is 100. Plus lunch, let's say that's $10 a day. 10 times 5 is 50. So that's $150 on transportation and lunch a week. That's what I was spending. Here, my Uber to work today was 20 Garden CDs. So 20 divided by 6, 6 times 3, 6 with 6 is 12. Yeah, 6 times 3 is 18. So it was about $3 to work and $3 back. So it's about $6. And I don't pay for to buy lunch every day at lunch. I bring my lunch to work. So for me, it's a lot cheaper to live here. That's just to do that comparison, the apples to apples comparison. That's what I would say. Oh, and then really food for thought was saying, what, free land? Yes, free land. We do have free land for Americans. It's a chief right outside of Cape Coast. Ivory Prosper was the one to put us on. So if you haven't seen that episode, go back to the episode that I did about dual citizenship. Ivy Prosper was my guest that week, and she mentioned it. Let me see if I can find it in my my notes here. But yeah, she had went through it, where you can buy the land, how much it was, all of that kind of stuff. Really good insight because I was not aware of it. Damn, I take a lot of notes. I'm trying to go back through my notes to see if I can find it. But yeah, okay, yeah. So there's a chief in it's in an area called Asebu, Saebu. $700. The chief is offering free land to Americans, and it's 20 minutes outside of Cape Coast, where the slave castles are. So if you're looking for it, that's where it's at. Canadian money doesn't work over there. I don't know. When I'm here, I convert all of my money from US to local Ghanaian currency, and when I'm in Sierra Leone, I convert to local Sierra Leone currency. I don't use dollars here, so I don't know. In certain countries, sometimes they actually don't even allow it, really. But I don't know about Canadian currency, to be honest with you. But you can easily at the airport just convert it to US dollars, and then convert it to Ghana CDs, and then you're good to go. Mr. Bounce said half your paycheck went to Uber and Subway sandwiches. Yeah. I mean, look, it didn't. I was actually paid significantly higher than I am now. I was paid really well actually at that job, which is why a lot of people looked at me like I was crazy when I decided to leave that job and move to Ghana. I mentioned this in the interview I did with Vanessa Canby. The title of it is he left his 6-figure job to move to Ghana, right? So that was the reason why I was spending so frivolously. It was because I was making more money than I have ever made in my life. And sometimes when you start to make that kind of money, you stop looking at how much things cost, which is terrible to do. And you have to start to practice good money habits. And I began towards the end, but I wasn't doing so for a long time in the beginning, and I was just frivolously spending. So no, it wasn't half my paycheck. I actually didn't even notice it. Didn't even make a dent in my my income. But things are very different now, and I'm living a much more humble lifestyle these days. Okay, so Musa says, bruh, I'm looking for a job in Sierra Leone as an expat. It's really difficult to get in, although I have a master's degree. Yeah. Okay. So Musa, I will have to tell you that is the reason why I am in Ghana. I do not have a master's degree, and I have a 14-year career in advertising. And I want to be in Sierra Leone. I would love to be able to live in Sierra Leone and work in Sierra Leone. Unfortunately, do not have I do not have the skill set that allows me to work in Sierra Leone. Right now, Sierra Leone is not really a ton about big for-profit businesses. Sierra Leone right now, most of the businesses there that pay expats are aid businesses. So like UK Aid, World Bank's whatever fund, Tony Blair Institute, Clinton Initiative, right? All these different nonprofits or NGOs are what's there. And so that requires you to have some kind of master's degree in social sciences or whatever, one of those things, political science, whatever, one of those kinds of things. I don't have that, right? And so that would be why I would recommend maybe living elsewhere. And Ivy's on the is on the chat, so she's also given us some updates. But that was part of what I talked about when Ivy interviewed me. That's why I came to Ghana. If you saw that video where I said is Ghana better than Sierra Leone? I wasn't saying it is. I was just saying why I chose Ghana over Sierra Leone because people do ask me that question. Okay, let me get back to the YouTube chat because there's a lot here I'm realizing and I completely missed it. So let me get into some of these questions. All right, so Nai Amu says a person can live very well with 1,500 in Ghana or Sierra Leone, 1,500 per month. Yes, I would agree. Accra is not the only, I think you're saying, the only place. Accra is not the only livable place in Ghana. One can live a lifestyle that they want. Expensive or inexpensive is up to that person. Great answer. That's true. $110 is good for your chef. And they're actually a housekeeper. So not just a chef too. They clean the house too. Will says 700 is not a fee. That's the price for the land. I don't know why Ghana is lying. It's a money hustle, just to be honest about what it is. Okay, so now there are others. Okay, so I guess that's where other people came in. Grace, so we'll address that later because I don't know the details of that. Grace is asking, are you paid in USD? No, I am not. I am paid in Ghana cedis. Ivy's here. Shout out to Ivy Prosper. Thanks for stopping by. Shout out to you. Jose Cruz says, give this brother some more likes, family. Thank you. Jose is always saying that, and I appreciate that. Make sure you guys hit that like button, or as other people on YouTube I follow say, smash the like button. Dan Diablo says, nothing in this world is free. Oh, Dan. Asebu Land is so that was where I was. I couldn't remember it because I was thumbing through my my notes. And Ivy says the price has gone up. And Dan is mentioning that this is for diasporans, not just Americans. Yes, I misspoke earlier. I said Americans. My apologies. I meant diasporans. So thank you for calling that out. Ivy also says Canadian money does work. You can exchange it. The value is lower. So good to know. Kelsa Costa saying a cab here at NYC costs you 20 USD to go 5 blocks. True story. True story. Uber is even more expensive in New York than it is in LA. And I was Ubering a few times when I went back to New York during the pandemic. And what would be equivalent to a $20 Uber ride in LA is more like a $60 Uber ride in New York. So it's much more expensive to ride Uber in New York. And of course, that same distance here in Ghana would be like maybe $10. So for context. Okay, Reggie says, yes, CDN works if you exchange it. Go to Forex. Okay. Dan Diablo says the fee has gone up. Naimu says cost of living in LA and in New York is way above Accra. Comparing a city in America to a city in Ghana is mathematically wrong. Standard of living is not the same. True. But to answer the question, I always do similes or examples of like for what people know. This is what it was for me here. This is what it is for me here now. Okay, so there seems to be a little bit of back and forth. So Ivy's. saying, yes, I was meeting with the Minister of Tourism, Ghana Tourism Authority, and one of the people on the board of Asebu Land, and I was told it is now 1,000 USD. Okay, there you go. Ivy works for the Ghana Tourism Authority, so she is the foremost authority on all things Ghana tourism. Um, you know what, Ivy, since you're here, people have been asking a ton about the year of return this year and what activities are happening. I've been meaning to ask you this. I forgot. I should have texted you this, but I want to ask you since we're here, we're live. Whenever you get a chance, if you can let us know some of the activities and festivities going on, or where we can go to find out about them, because a lot of people have been asking me about this. I got about, I think, 8 people coming from the US, friends of mine or extended, friends of friends who are coming December 29th through January 7th or 8th or so. And so they're asking about what's here, what's happening. Because many of them missed the year of return, and they're hoping that they can find something to do when they get out here. Kali Calv is here. Shout out to you. What's going on? So Musa said, so you left Salone. Why? So I didn't leave Sierra Leone necessarily. So I was born and raised in the United States. I am a dual citizen in Sierra Leone. So I got my dual citizenship in the end of 2018, technically right at the beginning of 2019. When I came to the continent, my plan was always to move to Ghana because I knew that there were going to be more opportunities for me here. I was already advising a company here, and there were more for-profit businesses. I have an advertising background, so I knew that if I couldn't move directly into investing right away, I could get a job in advertising, and I was right. Within the month of December, I was introduced to the CEO of Jumia Ghana, and by March, I was working at Jumia as the head of advertising. And so that would not have been the case had I gone to Sierra Leone. I don't know if I would have been able to get a role so easily. And I don't know what I would have done, to be honest with you, to supplement my income. Because although I have other streams of income, it is good to have a role here on the continent. And I don't know if I would have been able to do that in Sierra Leone, maybe, but it would have been quite a bit of time before I got there. And so I'm still holding out hope for being able to have a role there at some point in time in the future, and or maybe just be there as an entrepreneur and be able to just live there. But as of right now, that is why I'm here. But to answer your question, I did go to Sierra Leone for 2 months to start working on the house building project in November and December of last year. And then the end of December, I came to Ghana, and I was here until end of April. Then I went back to Sierra Leone for 6 weeks to do more work on the house. And then I came back here, and I'm going back again in December, maybe the end of November. We're already in November 1st. So maybe end of this month, but definitely early next month for the whole of December to do more work on the house. Now that my contractor has finally got back to us and is going to be going to the house to start doing more work again. Okay. All right. What else do we got? The Interac debit card and credit card can be used in Ghana. Canadian dollar can be exchanged for CDs in Ghana. Okay, there you go. The guy knocking down Asebu needs more information. There is an amount associated to the land for registration and paperwork. Okay, I guess this is for Dan Diablo. Okay, well, on that note, lots of good questions, lots of good comments coming in. Of course, like clockwork, the folks on the YouTube live are now all joining. You guys are all joining an hour in, but I appreciate you all coming on. I really do appreciate it. So really all I talked about was work and then answered a bunch of questions. So the other things I wanted to talk about was the house update, the house in Sierra Leone. So Reggie says, got to go. I appreciate your channel. First time catching it live. Peace to you. Thanks for stopping by. I really appreciate it. Love to see first time commenters and first time viewers. That's awesome. All right. So the house in Sierra Leone, man, yo guys, I know it's very similar issues here in Sierra Leone. I mean, here in Ghana, I know that I've heard people say they have some of the same challenges in Nigeria. I talked to someone from Kenya, says they have some of the same challenges in Kenya, and contractors in the U.S. Are also challenging to deal with. But man, oh man, I am not used to getting, I don't want to say ghosted. I think, do the kids call it like, is it like a zombie or whatever, where they don't completely ghost you, but they kind of every once in a while answer? So that's what's happening with my contractor. And let me give you guys some details on this. So over the last 2 years, I've been working on this house project in Sierra Leone. Now, anybody who's heard me talk about it for this extended period of time, by this point would think there's a whole house built, right? I've been talking about it since I bought the land in January of 2019. Here's what's been done: excavation, a wall around the property, temporary housing, tearing down the old house, and the beginning of building out the boys' quarters, the caretakers' quarters, right? That could have all been done in 6 months, but it's taken 2 years. Here's why. The first contractor I had, actually a second cousin of mine, my dad's cousin's kid, he started working on the wall, did actually honestly a pretty shitty job, didn't do the best job on it, and then also just like ghosted, like started a business in the US, was back in the US, and then back in Sierra Leone, and back in the US, and then just like completely stopped responding for 2 months. And like for every 6 messages or 6 times I would call, he'd respond with like a 1 word or one line responses, right? So I ended up having to move on from him and got a new person. That started off great. You know, that was in April of this year when I went back to Sierra Leone. I went with a new person. And so I spent 6 weeks there just working to get them up to speed, get them going, get things started, like all of that kind of stuff. And when I felt secure that the process of building the boys' quarters was beginning, I came back to Ghana. As soon as I came back to Ghana, the communication breakdown started happening. Now, here's what these guys do a lot of times. And I don't know if this happens everywhere, but this is what happens in Sierra Leone. They get the money up front for the next phase, right? Some of that goes to buying materials. Some of that goes to themselves. Some of that goes to paying their workers, right? However, because they don't know when their next paycheck is coming, what they tend to do is they take it and they pocket a lot of it. And when it comes time to buy more materials or pay your workers, they wait until they have another job from someone else who gives them money, and they give that money or use that money to do this. And so it's a little bit of money from this guy using this. It's kind of like what they do, what Bernie Madoff was doing in that Ponzi scheme, where like people were like, I need my returns. Like you said, I made X more money back. And so he would be like, oh, okay, I got you. So he'd go to a new person and say, okay, I got the best deal for you. Give me more money, and then I'll get you your return. So you get that money and then give it to this person. And so that's sort of kind of what's happening. And so this is what's happening with my current contractor. So he took another job. His workers have taken other jobs. And so now he's using that money to pay his workers to come back and do the work. Now, this is what happens when you are not there in person, where you can't show up and be in front of them every day, right? Now, first, the excuse was it was rainy season, which is a real excuse. But prior to that, 4 weeks prior to the rainy season, I got nothing done. And I was told that where we are now, we would have been past this stage 4 weeks prior to the rainy season, which is back in June or July. We should have been way further along than we are. I mentioned this in some of my videos. The guy said his dad's hip was broken and he's the only caretaker for his dad. And so I believed him and I said, fine, I get it. But then there was never any like, here's when we're going to come back and actually do the work. He finally came back and started doing work again. Then the rainy season hit. So rainy season is like 2.5, 3 months, but the rainy season's been over for about 6 weeks. And he's only done 1 week's worth of work in 6 weeks. So if you take that, so that's 5 weeks that work could have been done, plus the 4 weeks prior to rainy season where work wasn't done. That's 9 weeks behind schedule because this guy has been using up the money for other things. So that's the house update, and that's where we're at. I just heard back from him and the person who introduced me to him. He's going back to the property tomorrow, and apparently he's going to get back to work. So hopefully, I have a positive update for you on next week's call to tell you what new work has been done, how far we're along. Because again, by first week in December, I want to be back and I want to start working on the electricity stuff. All right, let's get back to the chat. Okay. So Ivy says, yes, Beyond the Return events will be happening. So there is a Beyond the Return social media page. So I'll be checking that out. You guys should check that out as well. I think that that's probably where all that information will be. So those of you who will be in Ghana or planning to travel to Ghana, Beyond the Return events are happening, as Ivy mentioned. All right, cool. So Will says paperwork does not cost that much to do. Fees do not move up that much so fast. It is at the cost of land per plot. Then it's fine. Just say that, but stop calling it free land. That's what Will is saying about the land. Okay. Like when you come in, let's help Joe from bringing that reel. Wait, what? Like when you come in? I don't know what you're saying, Jose. I got reading comprehension issues, so maybe it's me. But I think I need you to rephrase that so I know what you're trying to say. Niamu says 1,000 for a plot of land is extremely cheap. Note that 1,000 is for the paperwork for the free land. Okay, so there's a debate about what the 1,000 is for. Is it the paperwork? Is it for the land? Now, look, the thing is that as you guys probably all know this, and maybe for the folks that are watching are not very clear or familiar with this, specifically in Sierra Leone, it works like this. I expect it works like this here. And it does in the US too, right? When you're buying, right, you have to pay the city, state, whatever, for paperwork that says you own that land, right? That has a fee associated with it. So that is what is what they're saying this land is, right? Is you pay those fees to the country for the land, not to the individual who owns the land, right? He's giving it away for free, right? So you're paying that for the paperwork, you're paying it to the country. At least that is what the debate is in the chat here. I will tell you, in my experience in Sierra Leone, since I haven't bought land here in Ghana, you pay the city that you're in, and you pay the country, and you pay taxes and all of that. You have to pay that. So above and beyond what you pay for the land, you have to pay that. So I imagine that's the same thing here. So I think the debate here in this group is whether or not you're paying for the land and you're paying the country of Ghana. But it's clear that you do have to pay for paperwork and all of that stuff to make sure that you own the land. And so it's very feasible, but the land could be free, because as this person is saying, as Nia is saying, $1,000 for a plot of land is really cheap. But again, I'm not the expert here. I'm just saying what I understand to be true. But there seems to be a lot of back and forth here on this. The land is not free. That's the price. And I agree the price is fine, but stop referencing. Okay, so Will is going back and forth and saying it's not land. Okay. Damn Diablo says the land documents in the middle of the bush is insane. Oh God. and okay. Okay, so okay, Jose. Are you always driving? You always do voice text. I'm always wondering if you're driving when you're doing the voice to text. So, he's saying like the video when you come on the live. Let's help Joe for bringing this great content. Thank you, Jose. I appreciate that. YOA says smash that like button. Valuable insights, Joe. As always, thank you. So okay, so again, everyone in the chat is saying the fees don't increase overnight, but it's not necessarily overnight, right? The last time we talked about these fees was when Ivy was on the live, and that was like 5 or 6 weeks ago. And so there's a possibility that the commission for lands, or whatever you call it here in Ghana, could have increased the price for those kinds of things, So I don't know, but I get it. There's a dispute. Jose's leaving school. Shout out to you. Okay, cool. All right, so we talked about work. We talked about the house update. I haven't updated you guys on my apartment. I haven't talked about the price of my apartment yet, so let's talk about that a little bit. But first, let's see if there's any more questions on Instagram Live. So Tristan Hostin says, "Yes, me too. Finally got to catch you live. Thank you for joining. Glad you caught it." Mr. Bounce Los Angeles talking about my contractor robbing Peter to pay Paul. Yeah. Okay, and then Mr. Bounce Los Angeles was just translating what Jose was saying earlier about smashing the like button as soon as you join. Yes, please do hit that like button. Make sure that this gets shared with people. Yeah, because we want to make sure that we get this value to more people. That's really what it comes down to. Okay, so Ivy, remember, Ivy works for the Ghana Tourism Authority, so she is the person who is the authority on this. The rest of us are speculating. But here's what Ivy says. The 700 was from 2019 until recently when it went up to 1,000. So there you go. So that answers it right there. So it didn't go up overnight. It was a certain fee at a certain time, and then that changed, which, by the way, is on the country to allow themselves to do, especially if you have more people coming in, and you want to maybe make sure that you're generating revenue as a country from people who are purchasing land. Why not? I mean, it's a $300 difference. I don't think it's such a big deal for land. I'm not even tripping. I'm actually strongly considering going and buying some land up there. If it's $1,000, I mean, I'm not gonna tell you guys what I paid for my land in Sierra Leone, and that's actually apparently I paid a cheap amount. So yeah. Okay, cool. So the apartment here in Ghana. So you guys might remember a while back, one of the things that I was working on was getting hot water in here, which was a challenge. And we got hot water live. We got it. It's here. It's all good. And I talked about this a little earlier, but it's now sometimes the water period to the apartment, and not just my apartment, just to the building, just goes out. So those are some of the minor issues. But at the end of the day, what I've learned is that I'm paying so little for rent, comparatively speaking, what I was paying in the U.S. that and for so much space, I have 3 bedrooms, 3.5 bathrooms. Although I complain about it, don't get me wrong, I do complain about it. I don't talk about it as much on live anymore, just more like internally here with my friends. But like, yeah, I mean, it's just certain things you just learn to you just roll with the punches. You go with the flow. You just learn to kind of like, it is what it is. This is how it's gonna be. Like, I don't know if you guys can see that fan right there. That fan right there. Yeah. So that fan only works on one mode, and that is extra high, the highest level. So I can't just turn it on like to 1 and then it just like slowly oscillates. It's like, or turns, I don't know, because oscillates the other thing. It like you have to put it on max. So like you're fear for your life that it's gonna fall and like chop your head off, when it falls, because it's like on max, it's going crazy. I've tried to have them come fix it. I've mentioned it a number of times to the building management. It hasn't been fixed, so I just don't use it. I mean, sometimes that just happens sometimes here, and it is what it is. I mean, I could actually just pay an electrician myself, which is what I plan to do eventually whenever I get around to it. But it is what it is. I mean, it just happens that way. And so that's just something that you learn to just roll with the punches with sometimes here. If you're getting a really good deal, it's like you're getting what you pay for, right? Like 3 bedrooms, 3.5 baths for the price that I pay. Of course, there are going to be some things that slip through the cracks or things that get missed, right? So, but at the end of the day, I'm paying so little to live here that I'll take it. I don't know if you guys can't really see the size of the room, but it's a pretty spacious room. I would say it's probably about 15 by 20. And I think most rooms are like 10 by 15 that I was used to in New York or LA. And so one way it's about 20 feet. This way it's about 15 feet. So it's a pretty spacious room. That's just one of the bedrooms. The other bedroom's about the same size. And then I have a third bedroom that's a little smaller. and then each have their own ensuite bathroom, and then I have a half bathroom for guests. Not to mention I have a pretty substantial size living room and dining room area, and I have a balcony too. So yeah, I mean, you get what you pay for. So I have all that space. I don't pay as much as I would somewhere else, but then that means that there are other things that maybe don't work as well as you'd like. Okay. Tabasco says he sees a lot of Hebrew Israelites in Asebu. Um, yeah, I mean, I think so here's what I do know to be true. Um, a lot of people in a lot of different communities are finding that they want to move to the continent. And so if you're in a group, so as Tabasco mentioned, maybe the Hebrew Israelites that you might be familiar with in the US, as that group starts talking to each other, more people start coming. A friend of mine from college, she's I don't want to get it wrong. Oh, she's a Delta. She's a Delta. So she's in a black sorority, and a bunch of other people who were Deltas are here. I know somebody actually who works with Ivy, who's a Delta, who actually met at a dinner with her and a bunch of other people I went to high school. A bunch of other people who are Deltas with the woman that I went to college with. Sorry, my brain is not working. I'm running on like 3 hours of sleep from last night. But yeah, so different groups of people tell all the other people in their group, and then they come. So, like for instance, I mentioned that like 8 other people that I know through one other person are coming because that one person came, and we were all here together, and now those other people are coming. So it happens all the time. It's just, I mean, it makes sense, right? If you think about it, you bring your tribe with you. Now, that leads to the next thing. I'm also building a tribe here. I've met some really interesting, cool people over the last couple of weeks. I met some Sierra Leonean Americans that live here in Ghana. I met a Jamaican American last weekend, Maya King, who's a real estate agent here. Really, really cool properties that she represents. And so I got a chance to go look at some of the properties. And yeah, I mean, I would say there's definitely some cool people here, and you can build a dope tribe here. People who are aligned with your same vision, your same mission, for helping see the continent succeed. I think that's probably the best part about everybody that I meet here. At least people who are from the diaspora, who are Africans that are living in the diaspora. Many of them, that's the reason why they come back. And so, I kind of feel like we're all on the same wavelength with that. So S Queen Rob says, I'm a Delta and excited that they chartered a chapter there last year. Yeah. So my friend NK is, I think, the vice president of that chapter. So you probably know who she is if you know about that chapter. She went to college with myself and my boy Kelza Costa, who's saying, Cheech says, what's up? What's up, Cheech? My guy, Cheech. So, oh yes, so I've already said that. So it seems to be more of a debate on the whole land thing. But okay, what's the last thing that Ivy said? Let's see. Nah, nothing to do with my job. I learned about the Asebu project before I started working at my current job. I believe before I got this job, I just have no interest in buying in that region. Yeah, so I mean, it is pretty far away from the capital city. It is about 20 minutes outside of Cape Coast, I think, is what Ivy pointed out a while back. So yeah, if you do want to buy that land, just know that it's a distance from the capital city. I've thought about buying for sure, and maybe even building on that land, or just buying and holding it, and then deciding what to do later, whether that's to grow on it or to build on it. But I need to do more research. I haven't, to be honest, since then. And I know I was super excited back then to hear about the land, and I still haven't done anything about it. But as you guys can imagine, my schedule is crazy. So it is challenging sometimes to just to sit down and research things like this. All right, cool. So, some people ask me about my dating life here in Ghana. And so I thought I would share some stuff with you guys, because people do ask this question a lot. So I had been dating a Sierra Leonean. So you guys know I'm Sierra Leonean, and we're still dating. But what I have discovered is culturally there are some major differences. And then just me being me, I think there also makes some more challenges too. So for those of you who are from the diaspora, and you guys, many of you guys were on the live that I did with Niger, or I think Nice Corner, where we talked about her experience dating here. I didn't get too deep into my own personal dating experience because I wasn't really talking about it yet. But I'm dating a Sierra Leonean. She's a little younger than I am, but really, really, really cool woman. She really has her head on her shoulders and all of that. But culturally, there are some major differences. In Sierra Leone, people move a whole lot faster than we do in the US, a whole lot faster. So, for instance, and this isn't specific to her, but people in dating will say "I love you" sometimes after like a second date or even like a week in to dating, right? And that's culturally just how it is. And we've talked about this before. And her and I had talked about what we see our own individual futures looking like. And we met in June, and by August, she wanted to move in together and thought that it was crazy for me not to want to move in together. Actually, I think it was by July. No, it was by August. I'll say by August. So within 2 months, she wanted to move in together, and that was kind of a point of contention, right? Like I'm moving too slow, when I would say that's a very accelerated process. And so yeah, so I just wanted to mention that because I thought it comes up pretty frequently now in my discussions, and I would caution you all who are planning to move to the continent, if you want to date locally, that culturally you're going to have to learn the differences between what you're used to back in the States and how things work here. I will say one thing about her that's a little different from other women that I met here is that she is not the type of person to ask for money. Well, she does now that we've been hanging out a little bit longer. But like there wasn't like the sob story. My nephews and nieces are in school. I got school fees. My parents are sick. Blah 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 blah. That's the thing that was, I think, really interesting. So a couple things. Jose said, I got married after 2 months. When you know, even if it don't last. Okay. Yeah, when you know, I hear that. I hear that. I would definitely say that's the exception to the rule. I mean, I don't normally give dating advice, but here's what I would say. I think you need to spend some time vetting people, getting to know them before you decide to make a lifelong commitment or a seriously long lasting commitment like moving in together. Because I do think that you do need to get to know each other, because everyone gets your representative for a pretty good amount of time before people let their hair down, so to speak, and show the real version of themselves. So I wouldn't recommend moving in with someone within 2 months of knowing them, or marrying someone that quickly. Now there are going to be exceptions to the rule where it's happened and it's been no problem, right? But to me, I think one, if you know your pet peeves and you know what your non-negotiables are, if you can find that out in 2 weeks, then more power to you. But it's very hard to find that out right away. It does take a lot of time to figure that out, for sure. Yeah. So okay. So there's some other stuff going on. So Dan Diablo is making an assumption here. So this is Diablo's assumption right here. Look, you always go with the negative stuff. Diablo is always going with the contrary. Okay, so first of all, let's be very clear. I'm the type of person that I am always going to be willing to allow the woman to lead in that department with however she feels comfortable. All right. Well, without getting too deep into that, because I don't want to deal with the YouTube algorithm. But one thing to be very clear about, though, is the two do not equate, right? So, because the thing is what you're assuming is that that person does not want to do it and they're doing it, and it's like, that's like as if that there was. All right, it's without speaking about it directly. Let's just put it this way. I will put it this way. Um, we spoke about our differences in culture on the first date, and she had the opportunity to decide if she wanted to continue the date. Her and I discussed that she is not like most people that I would meet in Sierra Leone because she doesn't move that way, right? And so, for the most part, that is true, except after 2 months, then it was like all at once. So, I mean, it took a little while to get there, but after 2 months, it was like, oh, okay, so I do want to move in. And so, so yeah, I would say, um, yeah, I would say that that's a thing. So Kels is saying the L bomb after 2 dates. Yes, Kels, and I guess that was Cheech, or Cheech is saying, damn, yes, yes, yes. After 2 dates, that can happen sometimes. Yeah, um, it can. Tabasco says that's a red flag. Not necessarily, because culturally it's different, right? So this is the thing that you got to keep in mind, right? Is like, that's why I say, if you're planning to move here and you're planning to date local, you have to understand that you're dealing with a different culture, right? Even for myself as a Sierra Leonean American, I grew up in the American context, right? Like, the music that I listened to, the role models that I had, the friends that I have, right? My cultural context is like Black American, right? Based on growing up in the 90s and graduating high school at the very beginning of the 2000s, right? So that is my cultural context, the timing and my cultural context. So for me, that could be an issue, because I don't move at that speed, right? Um, and then Diablo again. She smelled the bag. Okay, so that is one thing that people do mention here on the continent. You have to be careful of, is just people looking for potential opportunity. But I don't. It's not everyone, and it's not all the time. I will say, with the young lady that I'm dating, her and I have had many conversations, and look, she could be playing the long game. Don't get me wrong, like, but I would say that she's been A1. I would say, like, she, from the beginning, I eat fruits and vegetables. This is how she got me in the beginning. All right, so I eat fruits and vegetables for breakfast. I just do, right? And I'm on this vegan thing. It is what it is, right? And so after our first date, we talked about it, and she had asked me if I what did she ask me? She asked me if I ate, right? So that's the thing here. Very often people ask if you've eaten, right? And I hadn't eaten yet because I was up working since like 5 a.m. because that's what I do. And she was like, "What do you usually eat for breakfast?" And I told her, I was like, jokingly, I was like, "Why, you gonna bring me some?" And an hour later, she brought a platter this big of like mangoes, watermelon, bananas, like a big old platter to me, to give me. And that was like before even our second date. I was like, "Oh, I like that. That's dope. That's dope." And she kept doing that. She kept going and buying food, making food, and bringing it. And then, so for like the last week that I was in Sierra Leone, that was how I spent my time with her. She would bring over food, we eat, and all that kind of stuff. So that was how she got me. That's how she got me. And so so we've been dating ever since. But I take things slowly. So I've been slow. As many people have known me to be, I'm married to work, And as of right now, especially since I've made a complete life change and moved to the continent, that's my number one focus right now, is that and working on the house. And so, I take things slowly with my dating. And yeah, and I will also say that, you know, she's very understanding of the fact that we live in different countries, right? So at this very moment, she's not in Ghana, she's not in Sierra Leone, she's in Nigeria, and even as part of that, she understands that the distance means it makes things difficult, and so that's a conversation for another time. I forget that family members watch these, so I try to keep this as G-rated as possible, because I do have my family members watching this, and so I try not to get too deep into specific details, but I appreciate her, and she's cool, and maybe she'll meet the family in December. We're still working on figuring that out, and seeing where we're going for the long term. But for right now, things are good. But yeah, because people keep asking me, so I thought I would share. I'm never that personal publicly, but I felt like I would share with you guys. I don't know if you guys care, but I told you. So, any other questions about my life here? Anything we talked about today? We went through a lot today. A lot of passionate discussion. I didn't put all of it on the screen because there was a lot of back and forth. So Mr. Bounce Los Angeles said Joe grew up as a Western fella, Tupac, Cosby Show, HBCUs, basketball, and apple pie. Yeah. Except I was a little young for Pac to really totally get Pac. Pac died when I was in 6th grade. And so did Biggie. They both died when I was in the 6th grade. So me was more Jay-Z and DMX. But yeah, I did watch a lot of the Cosby Show. Did watch a lot of Different World, things like that for sure. And then other shows throughout the 90s. Yeah, but yeah, so that did create my context, my cultural context for how things are. If you can imagine, if who some of my role models were Jay-Z in the 90s. Jay-Z's a very refined, different individual now. But if you listen to any Jay-Z's music in the late 90s or the early 2000s, if that is how I grew up and the context that I have for relationships, I wasn't destined to be serious until a long time later. So yeah, anyway, all right. Yeah, Dan Diablo, you're wild. I'm not even gonna put that on the screen. I'm not even gonna put that on the screen. But you're funny. You deciphered what I said, even though you took it a step further. You took it a step further. You deciphered what I said, and understood what I was trying to get across about her being understanding. Sure. Not exactly that, but okay, you're along the right lines, I guess. Okay, cool. All right, we're at an hour and 33 minutes, guys. I know we started like 2 minutes late today. I was having some technical difficulties, but I'm online now. But yeah, I have a bunch of work to do. Oh, I forgot to mention, I'm gonna talk about this in my video. I lost my phone this week. Kind of lost, kind of stolen, but the phone is gone basically. And so I spent the whole day figuring out how to get a phone back online, get all my numbers back, and all of the above. And so now I got a phone, but it has been a challenge getting it back, but we're back live. Okay. Anything else before we go? There was a lot we went over today. We went over career, went over the house, went over my apartment situation, went a little bit over my dating life, which again, I usually don't talk about in public, but I talked about it a little bit today because why not? Why not be a little bit more transparent so you guys know a little bit more about me? Maybe one day I'll do a live with her if she's down to do it. She's asked to do YouTube with me, so maybe one day. Maybe. I'm not gonna be one of those people that do like couples YouTubes. That's not my style. I won't be doing that. But maybe we'll do like cultural differences. We can talk about our differences culturally. That might be interesting for you all. Since you guys are asking about opposing viewpoints, maybe I can see if she wants to do a live where we talk about our cultural differences and the challenges we've had in our short dating history. Actually, that feels like a good piece of content. Are you guys interested in hearing that? So Dan Diablo is asking me about network marketing, multi-level marketing. So what's up with the network marketing? Pimping MLMs ain't profitable still, or what? Mm. So here's my thing about network marketing, or what people call pyramid schemes. I was in network marketing companies on and off for 15 years. So this is the kind of business where you franchise a business and you get paid for other people joining you within that business, right? There are so many things wrong with people in that business, not necessarily the business model. The problem with network marketing is mostly the people who are in it. And a lot of times, those people tend to be dishonest about their income and what it takes for them to generate their income. I've met some people who've done really well for themselves financially in network marketing, and I've seen their actual revenue numbers, right? Because I personally know them. And it was 10 years of hardcore dedication, no watching TV, no listening to the news, um, really only building a network within the network marketing business, right? Really singularly focused on that one thing to get to that point. Most people aren't willing to do that, which is why like 99.99% of all people in network marketing fail. However, there are a lot of things about network marketing that I think are really important. Number one, if you're with a good team and you're at a good company, one thing that they always tell you to do is to read every day. Read, learn new skills, teach yourself how to sell, work on personal development. All of those things led to me being able to move through the world the way I've been able to move, with some limitations in terms of my ability to read. I don't know if you guys know this, but I have reading comprehension issues. I've talked about this on live before. So like, when I'm reading, sometimes I have to reread it. Sometimes when I'm reading what somebody says, it doesn't make sense to me, right? This has been an issue. I was in remedial reading in 8th grade. Most people don't know that, but that is the case. I've been able to mask it, but I've always said my ambition far outweighs my intellect. I'm willing to work 10 times harder than anybody else, which is why I've been able to live the lifestyle I've been able to live. With that being said, I will tell you that when I was in network marketing, they convinced me to start reading. And I learned a lot about personal development and personal growth. And it really helped accelerate my growing up as an adult being in network marketing. So I get that the network marketing, multi-level marketing, whatever you want to call it, has a negative connotation associated with it. And there's been a lot of people who've been scammed from being in those businesses. But just speaking directly to the daily habits that I was taught and some of the skills that came from it, I wouldn't change it for the world. Like for instance, growing the business 5 times at Jumia, my day job, right? Where sales is not even my number one thing I like to do, but I just do it. It would not have happened had I not learned how to deal with objections, learn about different personality types, right? Learn how to spend time every day learning a new skill or deep diving into something, right? So that I can get good enough at it so that I can speak about it confidently, right? So all of that came from network marketing. So Dan Diablo, I know that you probably saw my. If you guys want to get a kick out of something, check that out. My other YouTube channel from 2019, 2010 and 2011. All right, it looks like my internet connection is unstable, but let me know if you guys can still hear me or not. Kelza Costa says, birthrights to Africa. What events are set up? Okay, so you're talking about Beyond the Return. So Ivy Prosper, who runs social media for Beyond the Return and the Year of Return, mentioned that Beyond the Return has events coming up. So I would recommend everyone to go to the Beyond the Return social media pages to follow along what's going on. Avi, I don't know if you're still on, but if you want to give us the website, let me see if I can just pull it up really quickly. It might just be the beyondthereturn.com. It might just be that simple. But that'll tell you everything that's going on. Um, but also Birthrights is a thing. So Birthright Africa is a thing. Jadena, the musician who signed to Janelle Monáe, one of my favorite um, people in music. Jadena signed to her label. He is on the board of Birthright Africa. And so they do have events going on. I don't know a ton about it, to be honest with you. I haven't really checked yet. Okay. So there's two sites I'm seeing. There's Beyond the Return GH, and then there's visitghana.com that has some mentioning of Beyond the Return. Let me make sure I get the official website from Ivy first, and I'll share it with you guys if that's maybe in the description here on this video or in the next video that we do, so we all know what's going on. But in terms of Birthright Africa, check out their page too. So their page is called Birthright Africa. They'll have all the information there as well to know what's going on with that. But yeah, check that out because I think they're going to be listing all the events they're doing. I'm going to try to do as much as I can. One, from my own personal experience, and two, so that I can document it for you all who are not here to go to it personally. But yeah, all right. I'm at an hour and 40 minutes. Anything else anybody wants to say? Any other questions, comments, concerns? Mr. Bounce Los Angeles is going back to what I was talking about earlier. He said Jay-Z matured, and so did you. I appreciate that. I sure did. If you guys would have met me in 2001, my boy Kels knows. You guys would have met me in 2001. I would be unrecognizable. Meeting that person then, me as an 17-year-old turning 18, or 2002 when I turned 18. Yes, I am 37 for all of those who are trying to do the math. If you would have met me back then, completely different person. Some people who watched this live knew me back then. That was a different guy. Okay, cool. I think we're gonna call it. This has been a very good live. Nice long live. What are we? An hour and, like I said, an hour and 42 minutes now. Any final words from anybody? Parting words. Make sure everyone hit that like button. This is what I want you guys to do. Actually, everybody hit the like button right now on this video. Before you log off, hit the like button before you log off. Just make sure you hit that thumbs up. Whether you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, or if you're watching on Instagram, make sure that once this goes live on Instagram, once this gets reposted on Instagram, make sure you hit the like button on this video so that more people can see the content like this. I'm here to give as much content and value as I can to those in the diaspora thinking about moving, those who are thinking about building on the continent, and those who are thinking about visiting even. All of that. I want to make sure that I do that. So S Queen Rob says, as a special ed teacher, rereading is not indicative of a disability. We all should do that as critical reading skill, young brother. Yeah. I agree with you. But it's not that I'm rereading because it's good. I'm rereading because I don't comprehend. So this is something that I've discovered. I think it's because if I look back generationally, on my father's side, I think my father was the first person in his direct lineage, as far as we know, to ever sit down in a classroom. So it's just not genetically a part of who I am. I think this is how I've been able to justify it. But like, for instance, I read an email. So like most people read an email and they respond to an email, right? I read an email and I have to sit with it for a little bit. Most people don't know this, but like when I get an email at work, I have to sit with it to understand it. And sometimes if people are having an email conversation, I'm not going to go back and forth on email. I'm going to go talk to the person because I'm not going to understand everything I'm reading if it's back and forth in an email. So honestly, there is a challenge I have with reading. It's always been there. Ever since the third grade, the first time we had to do like they would do like this thing where they would record us at the beginning of the year where you read. We had to read The Red Balloon. I'll never forget it because it was super traumatizing. So you have to read The Red Balloon, this book about a balloon. I remember the kid had a balloon, the balloon goes, something like that. Anyway, we had to read it at the beginning of the year, and then you read it at the end of the year, and they record you to see how you've gotten better. And I actually got worse at reading at the end of that year. So that was my first experience understanding that I had challenges with reading. And then by the 8th grade, what the teachers were discovering was it seemed like I had a lot of potential is what they were always saying. But the problem was I didn't always understand the assignments that were given, or whatever, things like that. So luckily for me, though, by the time I got to high school, a lot of the teachers would just read in class what you were supposed to read as the assignment. So I'm an auditory learner, and so if I'm hearing you read it, then I'm picturing it and imagining it, and then it gets dedicated to memory. So for me, that was how I was able to pass all of my English classes, and all of that, and I would always have grammatical errors, but the papers were good, right? I could always tell the story. It's just, it'd be like tore up with like red marks all over it. So I'm an auditory learner. I'm an orator. I'm not a reader, and it is what it is. But I appreciate you trying to encourage me, though, because I need all the encouragement I can get. All right, a couple things. Dan Diablo says, do you think it's important for you as a YouTuber to do collabs with other American YouTubers in Ghana? I think it is important if it's offering value to people. So again, the channel is always to offer value to people, right? And so like for Nai's Corner, or some of the other diasporans that I've interviewed that I'm going to be sharing their stories, and even Maya, who I interviewed this past weekend, it's definitely important to tell their stories so that people who are planning to come here have diversity of opinions and diversity of thought. Excuse me. So I specifically have my own experience, right? My experience is my experience as a single male. It's a very different experience for a single woman who's moved here, right? And maybe someone from Los Angeles is what we got with Nai and my interview with Nai. Someone like Maya, who lived in Florida, but then she's also lived in New York and in Miami. Well, Miami is Florida, but she lived in Central Florida, and then she lived in her later years in New York and Miami, and now her experience moving here and what she does for a living. I think it's just that diversity of experiences, I think, is really important to share with those who are watching my content. And so I want to do more of that on live, but it is difficult to ask somebody to get on a live at 9 p.m. on a Monday, and then it goes until 10:50 p.m., right? So generally, when I am collaborating with others that are here, it's recorded videos that we do like on a Saturday afternoon, and I'm editing those and putting those out. You haven't seen like half of those yet. I have a bunch of those that I still have yet to put out, and I will be putting out. And so I have two groups of people who I've interviewed. I've interviewed Sierra Leonean Americans living in Sierra Leone, people who've worked for the State Department in the US, people who've worked for like the University of Columbia and all that kind of stuff, who are now living in Sierra Leone. These are my good friends in Sierra Leone, so I've interviewed a bunch of them. Those interviews I still have yet to put out. They'll go out in the next couple of weeks. They've been asking me. And then I've also interviewed a bunch of people here in Ghana, which is a broader group. Not all the people who I've interviewed here in Ghana that live in Ghana or are Ghanaian, right? And so, but I do want to make sure I share their experiences with people. So I know that's the long way to answer your question, Dan Diablo. This is a very good and constructive question. I like it. But yeah, so to answer that question, yes, I do think it's important, only of course if they are offering value to the audience. So for sure. Will says, thank you for your time. Thank you, Will, for joining. YOA, shout out to Joe's family. Shout out to the fam. All right, cool. All right. I rambled a whole lot longer than I planned to. I think I was trying to get off about 15 minutes ago, right? But I'm speaking of the family. If you think I can talk a lot, You guys, I want to do a live with my sisters. If they're down to do it, well, two of my sisters that will be in Sierra Leone. My third sister, we can see if we can get her on the live if she wants to. She's gonna be in LA, but well, I have many more than that, but three of the ones that I know personally, two of them will be in Sierra Leone in December, and so we can talk a lot. So that could be an interesting live. If you guys are interested in seeing that, we can try to do that. Also, I heard that somebody thought it might be interesting for the young lady that I'm dating, potentially for us to do a live and talk about the differences culturally and how that's been challenging, let's say, for both of us. So maybe that's some content we'll do. And then there's other videos, there's other content that you guys have asked for. I've already made a list. I just couldn't get around to it today because today has been a hectic day. So I just decided to just do an update about how it's been for me 11 months in living on the continent. All right. Jose says, thank you for always shining a positive light, I think, of Africa and keeping it real. Much love to you. Thank you very much. OD99 says, peace out, fam. Peace to you. All right, that's it, guys. Thanks for joining. I appreciate you all coming on and, contributing to the conversation. I will be putting out a video this Wednesday, so check that out. Another one on Saturday, and then I'll be live hopefully next Monday again. So with that, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys all on the next video.